That's a lot of words I've been throwing at you all. Why is a spoon made of wood? Great question. So our tools are either made out of metal or wood or paper. Metal is great for shaping glass, but it also cools it down very quickly. Wood is very soft on glass, and it takes heat out of glass a lot slower than metal does. So yeah, metal spoon would be pretty heavy. You want to be very light and delicate with your tools. When it's thin blades like that, it works great, but you want something a little lighter, a little softer on glass for those wooden tools.
Cork ones and graphite ones.
Yeah, cork and graphite are tools that we use quite a bit in the shop as well. It's not really what we use for our setup here, but those are pretty common as well. We do have some cork paddles right here that we use every so often to flatten pieces down. Just a big piece of cork. Now that's sounding cold. Sounds like we're ready. We can go back into that furnace without losing our shape. Also, it's going to about double in size here with more clear glass, and then we're going to start putting some color on this. So there's a lot of ways that we can add color. We like using what's called frit. It gives us a layer of spots and dots on the outside of the glass, but it's a lot quicker and a lot faster and easier than anything else. So he's going to come out here and he's going to start rolling this back and forth on that table next to him where we have some piles of frit laid out. You have a question, bud? Which colors are we planning to use? Good question. We're using an opaline white. That's what Alton's rolling in now. And we're also using what's called some gem tones. So I'm going to hold up a sample piece from an earlier piece that we made today. When this comes out tomorrow, it's going to look like this. So kind of a thin, translucent white on the backside, and then lots of kind of transparent blues and purples and reds and yellows and greens. But for right now, we just have white on the outside. All those colors are different metals and metal oxides that get combined with glass. So white is usually titanium and zinc. Cobalt and copper can give you blue. Tin, chromium, and iron can give you green. Manganese makes purple. Selenium makes yellow. And it's all chemists and material scientists that make it. We just buy it from the store and play around with it. And that's everything I know about the chemistry that goes into the glass. If you have more questions about that, I suggest a Google search or finding a chemist. But I can tell you one of the most expensive colors in glass is actually pink glass because it's made with gold. That includes our pink chandelier in the chandelier hallway. Rolling in those colors now. Once he's done with his color application, he's going to melt that in. There's a lot of texture on the glass right now from getting that color on there. And then he'll take a seat at the bench and use another one of those wooden spoons, but a larger one, to shape this up a bit more. Any other questions out there I can answer? All right, must be doing a good job narrating that. So he's giving that a little bit of air, blowing up that bubble on the inside. We could blow directly into this, but when we roll our glass on the table, that bubble can kind of get pushed off the very center of the glass. So this is what that tool does, it fixes it. And this is a wooden spoon. We have to soak this in water so it doesn't catch on fire immediately. That creates a barrier of steam between the wood and the glass. It's also cherry wood too. A lot of folks ask what kind of wood it's made out of. If you take wood from a fruit tree, it has a very dense wood grain and not a lot of pitch or sap, which is great for soaking in water. I wouldn't want to use like cedar because it would get really sticky and smelly if you soaked it in water overnight. Probably a lot more mosquitoes in the buckets as well. Any other questions out there? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the question was, what's going on inside of our furnace? So we have two sections of the furnace. The bottom half is our pool of clear glass. It's sitting in a crucible, a ceramic bowl. It holds about 60 pounds of glass when it's full, which is enough to make one macchia. So it's not a very big furnace. And then this top half here is called the reheating chamber. When the glass gets cold, it doesn't want to move around at all. So we could put it back in here just to get it back up to a working temperature. A lot of glass shops will have what's called a reheating chamber, a big barrel of fire that you can use just to get your glass back up to a working temperature. If you go into our theater and watch the footage of Chihuly making some of the work you saw in the exhibit, he has some very large reheating chambers. When you're working really big, those can be really helpful. But for what we do up here, we can just have an all-in-one system. If anybody's been to the island of Murano over by Venice, Italy, you've probably also seen a shop that has just a melting furnace. They don't have a separate reheating chamber. Do you have a question? Just stretching? Okay. So next, Alton's going to take this size by ourselves. But if we were to go back in and get another gather of glass on this, we'd want another person with us. All the stuff you saw inside and in the garden had somewhere between 5 to 16 glass blowers working together. Chloe. So a couple of tools we're seeing Alton use, that is a super fancy little flexible shaping pad that we like to call the Seattle Times newspaper. It's about as close to the glass we can get without actually touching it with our hands. And these are the jacks, a pair of blades we can use for a lot of things. Right now Alton's working on the jack line constriction, or the neck line. That's the top of our piece. We're going to create a controlled break there, blowing. Off. Those blades we can use for a lot of things as well. We can put them on the sides of our piece if we want to smooth out those sidewalls. There's that rounded off part on the opposite end of the tool. Those are the straps, a little flat plane of metal we can use to cool down glass very quickly or flatten things down. Now we're starting to get a little preview of what shape Alton is making. We know he's making... Questions? Anyone? All right, we'll just sit in silence till Alton's ready then. Just kidding. One question we do get asked pretty frequently is how long does it take to become a glass blower? We usually say it takes about 3 to 5. An instrument, nobody's really good at this when they start out. You're gonna have a lot of stuff hit the ground. It's very frustrating, but if you can power through that frustration, you're gonna learn a little bit more each time. Conceptualize how long it takes to become proficient really at anything. But it's all about practice. The only way to get better is to get some glass on a pipe in your hands. Capping. Right now he's flattening the bottom down. Looks like he was giving a little design detail on the bottom, squishing that flat so we know it will sit flat on a table. Blowing a little bit. Off. Alright, we are about 50% done with our piece now. We can move on to the step where we break this off the pipe and flip it around and start working on the top. So to do that, I'm going to get a little glass on the end of a solid rod. I'm going to shape that up into a Q-tip shape. That is called a punty, P-U-N-T-Y. We're going to squish that Q-tip onto the bottom of Alton's piece and flip it around by shocking that jackline constriction that he made. So this move is what we in the business like to call the tricky part. You have to have the right timing and the right temperature.